mentioned Peter Clark. Peter Clark went to a murder, didn't he? Went to prison for a murder and appealed about 6 years later with that Lord Carlisle that won his case with a video.
That's it. The barrister.
He produced a video that was mocked up, and he got released on the back of that video. But that was all to do with the Lawler and the Clark war that happened in the late 90s, wasn't it? Are you aware of that war with Tony Lawler, Blondie?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And is that the one where James Pancake Taylor, left the IED outside the police station?
I think that was early 2000s when all that kicked in. But we'll get to that. We'll speak about that as we go through the decades. So
the door wars, is that what you're talking about in the 90s? The door wars, they called it, didn't they? On the security companies on the doors.
A lot of stuff kicked in with the Lawlers and the Clarks, and you had a very dangerous man called Blondie, who was Stevie Lawler, and I believe he was the first one to get took out. And then you had his brother. I think he was shot dead, and I think that's the one what Peter Clark went to prison for. I'm not too sure, but he got released. And you're saying he's working alongside the Furies now?
Yeah, he works as a coach alongside Peter Fury. He was the one who trained Savannah Marshall last year for a world title fight against that other lady. What's her name now? The African American girl. People would know who it is. But anyway, Savannah Marshall's last fight, Peter Clark was one of her boxing coaches, so he's in the corner with Peter Fury.
Right, so the Cogginses, let's commit a few more minutes to these and this family, because at the end of the day, mate, they are what they are. You know, they are career criminals. They've progressed through the ladder to the global stage of organised crime, in the sense of narcotics and firearms being shipped around the globe. Who is the main man in the Liverpool mafia that you're aware of, or you seem to, you know, what intelligence have you got to state who is the main head in that mafia?
Well, you still got the Kinahan sort of overseeing it with Liam Byrne, Tony Judge, but on the other side, the traditional Liverpool underworld, I would say it's not one person. It'll probably be a group of people. There'd be Dickie Coggins, Francis Coggins. You'd have John Burns. You know, to a certain extent, although they're in jail, you've got the Mulhairs from the Wirral. So all those people are still involved. Even John Hass, I know he's over 70 now, but he's sort of, you know, the Hass family still deal in firearms, still deal with narcotics. But because he's a lot older, there's so many degrees of separation from him and any graft to protect him. But I mean, they haven't changed. I mean, you know, Paul Bennett and John Hass, I mean, that's a story in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I remember that well. I remember that because it was around individuals that was planting the firearms for him when he fooled the government with his pardon.
Well, but, he fooled the government and also paid the Home Secretary's brother £300,000.
Yeah, I believe that's true, mate. So in reality, you're going to have the top few that's been controlling what's going on. So you've seen what's happened in our city. You've seen what's going on. You've seen, like, the young girl being shot dead. You've seen these young gunmen running around. You've seen, you know, and the firearms they're using, they're not rusty. They're not, you know, they're not shit firearms, are they? The state-of-the-art firearms that are made to do maximum damage, along with the bullets that they've got. You know, they're not just getting short 9.0 or 9mm bullets. They're getting jacket hollowed pointed bullets, which is JHPs. Where are, in your opinion, where are these firearms coming from, and who's giving them out so easily to the youth in the city of Liverpool?
Well, I would say a lot of the firearms we are looking at, by the make and models of them, come from Eastern Europe, and it started after the Bosnian War in the 90s when you got Scorpion machine guns. What happens is when they send a load of narcotics, you might get 100 kilos of cocaine, plus you get 2 or 3 Scorpion machine pistols, a couple of 9mm, right? And that is how they come in. But the thing is, when they get to the UK, they then get stored by people like Craig Birchie. And he is one of the people who puts the guns in the hands of people that have been committed heinous murders. So, to be honest, his hands are dripping in blood. Craig Birchie from Highton, or Dovecot, I think he is.
Craig Birch. I'm aware of Birchie from years ago, a big homosexual man from years and years and years ago. He must be in his late 50s or something now. Is it his family, his son, his nephew?
I think it might be Craig Birch. He's a little bit over 40, and what he does is he's got a leasing company where they lease them Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and that to all the grafters, because if they get arrested, right, well, they can seize the car. It's not theirs; it's on lease, and so that's how he earns some of his money. He also, as I say, he puts the firearms in the hands of these young people, and specifically recently, there's certainly at least 2 cases where he is heavily involved in it. Now, I did hear that he went to Spain and his son was taking over while he was there, but I can't confirm that. And also, Darren, do you remember back in January that Merseyside police seized a £200,000 Lamborghini because the driver was not insured to drive it, because it was only insured for people over 40. And I'm wondering whether it was Craig Birch's Lamborghini.
I remember what you're on about. I remember reading about that. So who is this Birchie then, and what gives him the angle to have access to these firearms? Is he affiliated to the Cogginses and stuff like that? Where does he come into?
Yeah, well, you see, he's positioned himself. He was one of the young tearaways that has moved up, right, the food chain. And so now he then employs a lot of these feral youngsters that we hear the names about on many of these cases. Now, he would answer to someone, I would say, like Paul Woody Woodford, again, who used to be a gunman but has moved up. And he would answer to people like that, and Dickie Coggins, and that kind of crew. But to be honest with you, they're sort of like guns for hire. You know, I mean, it's whoever wants to use them as gun, and you've got these young game lads that you speak about often that want to prove themselves. And so we've seen a range of these gunmen from teenagers to mid-20s to early 30s. And then by the time they get to their mid-late 30s, they then move up and then delegate it down to the younger people. So you can trace all of these people with all their history. I mean, some of the gunmen, Darren, have got 4, 5, 6 kills to their name that have been unsolved.
Yeah, I know. So when you mentioned Paul Woody there, is that the kid from the Bootle area of the city?
Yeah, that's the one.
Is that the individual that cut his own tongue off in the block about 10 years ago, so he didn't, and then got acquitted?
That's it. That's Woody Woodford, yeah.
Is he not in custody now for serious offences?
Yeah, what happened was Vincent Coggins, and Paul Woody Woodford pleaded guilty to supply of Class 8 in December 2021, right? And that's over a year ago. And Paul Woody Woodford got 26 years. Vincent Dickie Coggins got 28 years, and they're currently serving their sentences as we speak. Last I heard that Dickie Coggins was in Strange Ways and Woody Woodford was in Franklin, I think.
So with them being out the picture, mate, who's took the reins? Who's leading the charge for that? The Liverpool Mafia now they're out the picture, because it's a known fact around the city, Liverpool, and that Woody Woodford, or whatever you're calling him, was quite dangerous. He was quite intimidating.
Oh yeah, he's got kills to his name that have never been sold. I mean, he is a psychopath. Of course he is. At the moment, you've got Francis Coggins out in Marbella. You still got John Burns out in Dubai. You got Wayne Pearson, right, popping up every now and again. He's like a ghost. Not very many people know about Wayne Pearson, another game fella, right? You've still got the usual suspects that are sitting there, but below those, you've got quite a range of people. And as you know, to be honest with you, Darren, a lot of these godfathers, when they go to jail, for them, it's like having a break, because they've got their telephones. They can still run their businesses from jail. I mean, some of them, I mean, it's a bit of a joke, but some of them go to jail to get away from their wives, keep moaning at them, and they sit there in the. Honestly, it's like in the old film Porridge. Grelty's Peter. He's sitting there drinking a large whiskey, right? And that's how it works. And especially with private prisons, honestly, it's like not a holiday camp. It's like a hotel, and they're there, and you're getting prison officers bringing in phones, and they're doing all.
I know exactly what it's like when you're there's I've witnessed it myself. I was in Loudon Grange years ago with a few high-ranking criminals, and there was staff in there, in particular one woman called Bev, and she was high up as a prison officer in Loudon Grange, and because she was from the West Derby area, she must have had, and all these individuals were getting shipped out to the DCATs from DCATs. It was horrendous what was going on within the system. But anyway, the majority of them we've just been speaking about, and I'd like to return to them in 20 minutes or something. And the majority of them are from North Liverpool, if you like, Highton, West Derby, Croxteth areas, Walton, so on and so forth. What about South Liverpool? We've had a lot of information in the past about South Liverpool in terms of Colin Smith, Lee Eagle, Carl Ward. What do you know about that? What do you know about that side of the fence, mate? Do you know anything about them?
Yeah, well, in the 90s, I had a mate of mine who was his parents lived 2 doors from me on the beach. Andy Miller was very good friends with Curtis Warren. So when I'd see Andy, he'd come down for the weekend, and at the time he would just tell me the gossip. I mean, we all like a bit of gossip. He'd go, "You won't believe this one, you won't believe that one." Anyway, so Curtis Warren, right? We all know what happened. Okay, was that Colin Smith and Curtis Warren jointly. I mean, I don't like to distinguish. I think both of them were on the same part at the time. Well, what happened? You got Colin Smith was murdered outside Nell's gym, and you got Danny Vaughan watching. Right, you had Pancake Taylor there. There was Stephen Vaughan now. Lee Edel. Now, Carl Wall had a perfect alibi because he was at home with his family when it went down. But the ironic thing is, I mean, I've narrowed it down, and I think it was Pancake or Lee Edel who shot Colin Smith, because they were on the scene within minutes of him being found. So they shot him, got rid of the gun, and then came back as if, "Oh my God, what has happened?"
No, you see, what happened there is Lee Edel's got a brother, and it was his brother that shot Colin.
Was it?
Yeah, I know that well. I don't know for fact, that's the information I've received off someone very close to him, like a family member to be exact. So it was allegedly Lee Edel's brother that shot Colin Smith.
Colin Smith, yeah. I mean, but they were on the scene within seconds of it actually. It actually watched out the window it happening, didn't they?
I'm hearing James Taylor's name pop up an awful lot in these conversations I'm having with you, mate. And as you probably know, I was around that bunch of people years and years and years ago before I went into custody. And although James weren't that game initially, he'd shoot you in the leg, but he wouldn't body count you. But obviously, he's progressed into taking a body count. Have you any information on the Nicky Ayres murder and the way people insinuate and implicate Pancake James Taylor in that murder? Is there any truth to that, do you think?
To be honest with you, right, it's I would say it's probably 60 to 80% certain that he was the shooter, but it's probably 100% certain that he was certainly behind it. That's what I've established, that he was definitely behind it. Whether he pulled the trigger, I would say 60% it was him. But the thing is, he's a classic case. He's moved up, right? He's made his bones. He served his apprenticeship. He's killed a few people. Now it's Pancake Holmes. He's a multi-millionaire. He's corrupting politicians. Okay, there's the case come up this week with Stephen Rice, the chief inspector from Birkenhead.
I don't really want to speak about that just yet, because the police are hot on these and they get me shut down when we talk about ongoing investigations or court cases.
Sure. Sorry, I'm only.
What I'd like to say though is that, the 2 names that I know very well that you keep on bringing up all the time is James Taylor and Tony Judge.